As followers of true crime, we know not to take things at face value. But when living your everyday life, the cynical radar isn't necessarily ready to tar everyone we come across with the twisted arsehole brush. While we may not ascribe to the picture-perfect fairy tale life that some people try to portray, and realise that even the most idyllic seeming relationship probably has blips when someone takes too long to get ready or leaves the toilet seat up. But it still comes as a huge shock when we find that reality is so completely removed from the image that someone has constructed. Today we look at the truth behind why Nottinghamshire man Neil Entwistle killed his American wife and infant daughter in their picture-perfect home in Massachusetts. This is Murder of Crows. Neil Entwistle was born on the 18th of September 1978 and was raised in the North Nottinghamshire town of Worksop. Now, I've worked in Worksop and it's not my favourite place. It's a very deprived town that was hit hard by the fall of the coal industry. I'm not setting the scene for any excuses for what we will discuss later, but I am trying to paint a picture of the backdrop to Neil Entwistle's upbringing. In fact, Entwistle's dad, Clifford, was actually a coal miner, and his mother, Yvonne, was a cook in a school canteen. So he and his younger brother Russell would have faced head-on the difficulties facing the coal industry during the 1980s. But Entwistle was a reasonably smart cookie. So his way out of the struggle of working class life in a struggling northern town was through academics. And he attended the University of York, ultimately gaining a master's degree in electronic engineering. It was while studying at York and attending an event at the rowing club that he met a charming American girl called Rachel Souza, who was the cox for the men's rowing team. No jokes about cocks, please. This is a respectable channel. They fell in love and all was right with the world. The end. Well, no, obviously not. I wish it had been. But let's see what happens next. Neil Entwistle married Rachel in Plymouth, Massachusetts on the 23rd of August 2003. And the couple moved to Worcestershire. You know, like the source that Americans struggle to pronounce. Entwistle started working in the computing sector for a company called Kinetic, but spelt in a funky way with a Q at the start and a Q at the end, as you do. Well, Rachel got a job teaching English and drama at St. Augustine's Catholic High School in Redditch. So far, so good. And it only got better when the couple were blessed with the arrival of their first child, a baby girl they named Lillian, on the 9th of April 2005. Only 5 months after Lillian's birth, in September of 2005, the family moved to America. And this was with a view to Rachel being closer to her family in order to get help with the new baby. When they first arrived in the US, they lived with Rachel's mother Priscilla and stepfather Joseph Matarazzo, and this was in Carver, Massachusetts, before they found their own home in the small but pretty town of Hopkinton, around 25 miles west of Boston. At this time, Entwistle said he was still working in computing for the same firm as he had in England, and was receiving an income of $10,000 per month, rather strangely from an offshore account. It just gets better and better for them. The coal miner's son has done okay for himself so far. Heavy emphasis on the so far. Because believe me when I say, things are about to take a turn. That turn came, as it happens, just 10 days after the family moved to their rented home. On the 21st of January 2006, a friend of Rachel's reported her missing to the police. That evening, police conducted a welfare check at the Entwistle home, and after gaining entry, found no one home and nothing amiss. When Rachel was still missing the next day, the home was more thoroughly searched, and the bodies of Rachel and 9-month-old Lillian were found arm in arm under a pile of bedding on the bed in the master bedroom. Good job, welfare checkers. Missed the dead bodies that hint that the welfare is perhaps not so great. But notable by his absence is Neil Entwistle. Where, oh where, could he be? It was found that just hours after the apparent time of death for his wife and his daughter, Neil Entwistle bought a one-way airline ticket for London. In the meantime, forensics find that Rachel and Lillian have both been shot. Rachel died of a gunshot wound to the head, and Lillian of a gunshot wound to the torso. The bullet that passed through Lillian also pierced Rachel's left breast. The bullets were so small that the one in Rachel's head actually went undetected until the autopsy. Bit sus that Neil Entwistle has run off after his wife and baby have been found dead. For somewhat obvious reasons, police were only looking in one direction. No, not at one direction, looking in one direction. So the search was on for Entwistle. Through dogged digital pursuit, Entwistle was traced to his parents' home in Worksop. In trying to make contact with Entwistle, Massachusetts State Trooper Robert Manning calls the Nottinghamshire native, thinking he was just going to make initial contact and perhaps try to persuade Entwistle to return to his family home. But he ends up having a 2-hour recorded phone call with the erstwhile family man. In the following clip, you can tell how terribly concerned about his family he was.
And I'm calling you from the Hopkinton police station, okay?
Okay.
All right. And can you talk to me for a few minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. I want you to know too, when we call here from a police station in Massachusetts, okay, the calls are recorded on this end. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay. You understand that, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm sorry to tell you.
My real goal was to call like Priscilla and Joe now, but I didn't have, any means of contacting them. I didn't know their numbers, so I just drove down to their house. Now, kind of before that, I went downstairs and I took one of the knives out of the block of knives we had in the kitchen.
Yes.
So, maybe I could, but I just didn't have the courage to do it. And as I was, and I think I pondered on that for a minute and then maybe got in the car. I mean, it could have been longer, but I then got in the car and started to drive towards Carver. And I didn't really think about the time at that point, but when I realised that they weren't going to be in, I knew that Joe has guns in the house. I thought maybe I could finish, kind of get myself, that way. I got to the house and the key used to be on the car key. So but Rachel must have taken it off, or it been taken. I couldn't get in the house. And I sat there for a little while, and then I thought, well, probably the best bet. I don't know where Joe works, but I didn't know where Priscilla works, so I thought I would drive up to go find Priscilla to, let her know. And then, but as I drove up, I couldn't remember how to get there, and drove around for quite a while, just trying to find it. Couldn't remember where to go, and I'm not quite sure what was going through my mind at that point, and I just needed to stop somewhere and get things clear in my head. I ended up at the airport, at Logan Airport.
Okay.
And I mean, it was the only place. It was the only place that was familiar. I pulled into the car park, and I sat there for a little while. I wanted to kind of let the emotions out, but nothing would come out. It just didn't seem right, it just wasn't right what I'd seen, what had just happened.
Right.
I got out of the car, I walked around for a bit, but the problem is being in and out of the car and in the airport just reminded me, the only time I've been to the airport is when I've been in Rachel on the bed. Now, when I first looked, he just...
I know it's difficult.
Oh, it's such a mess.
I'm sure it's very difficult, but I need...
When I first looked, it just looked like she was asleep.
Okay, was she were they right on top of the bed?
No, they were, the covers were partially up.
Okay.
So they were under the covers, but not kind of maybe half, 3/4. When I walked in, I couldn't see Lily. I could only see Rachel, and she just looked asleep. Which, you know, and that at first it didn't look anything wrong, but why would she have been in bed at that time, and where was Lily?
Mm-hmm.
And so as I went up, the first thing I noticed was just her colour. She was pale, and then as I got closer, I could see the blood, and that's when I saw Lily's the top half of the face was out, and I pulled the covers back, and that's when I saw Lily was such a mess.
Where did you see some blood, sir?
Well, there wasn't any on Rachel. I couldn't see anything on Rachel. It was all on Lily. And what sticks in my mind is that her whole mouth and nose covered. It was almost like it was bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it was obvious that they weren't alive anymore.
Okay.
And
What did you think happened to him?
Well, I didn't know what I'm looking back on it now. I don't remember seeing the house disturbed. It doesn't look like we were robbed. I don't see why anyone would have had the opportunity to do that. It was
How about in England?
No, we've left it behind. I mean, I used to be part. I had a general practitioner.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, just.
But you're not depressed or anything?
No. Oh no. I see what you mean now. No, I don't. I mean, I think my parents are keeping the eye on me, but I haven't even cried yet.
You haven't even cried?
No. Not properly.
No?
No.
What would properly be? Because usually, my experience is not really a proper way in a situation like this. Things just happen.
Yeah. I mean, that is what it is. No, I shed a few tears. My Rachel at Christmas sent over. We did little presents from Lily, and we sent over these little crystals that people could hang in their windows. She wrote a little note that said, you know, when you see this sparkle, think of me as it being from Lillian. And I walked in my parents' conservatory and saw it, and I started to cry, but it wasn't even that many tears. I don't know what I'm thinking at the moment. I think it's almost because I'm here, it doesn't even seem real. There's just a void.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, it is real. Okay?
Yeah.
And, It is real, and something happened over here, and I'm trying to get as much information as I can.
Yeah.
And I'm taking you. I'm believing what you tell me. Only I can tell you, I have a hard time understanding why you didn't call 911.
Obviously, with Entwistle front and centre as a person of interest, police started doing their due diligence and peeled away Entwistle's public veneer and found his seedy and dishonest underbelly. By checking his online history and employment history, it became clear that he was living a lie, or more accurately, a lot of lies. Starting with a $10,000 a month job that didn't exist, and trying to live a lifestyle he couldn't hope to keep up with. The place the Entwistles had chosen was on Cubs Path, an 8-home cul-de-sac a couple of miles outside of town. Their home was a luxury colonial-style 5-bedroom rented house which, at $1,500 a month, did not come cheap. Entwistle, an IT expert and computer programmer, had moved to the States in the hope of finding employment there. But unable to find a job, it didn't take long until he'd racked up thousands of dollars in debt. He became involved in selling computer products through eBay. But there were complaints from dozens of buyers who said they had not received goods that they had paid for. An eBay fraud investigator would later tell a court that Entwistle had 6 different accounts set up in his name. He also ran a site called millionmaker.co.uk, a get-rich-quick scheme which offered 24/7 support to those with adult internet businesses and promised a profit of $6,000 a month within the first 6 months. But that later closed down. He also registered srpublications.co.uk, which offers a manual claiming to enlarge penises. Not relevant to the story, but I'm still actually waiting for my copy. Anyway, in the meantime, Entwistle was also looking for sex. He visited sites including adultfriendfinder.com, halfpriceescorts.com, escorts.naughtynightlife.com, and hotlocalescorts.com. Through the Adult Friend Finder website, he sent a series of emails to other women saying he was looking for more fun in the bedroom. Should have bought a joke book. His profile on the site, recovered by investigators from his laptop, read, "I'm looking to meet American women of all ages. I need to confirm what friends have told me, that you are much better in bed than the women over the ocean, as I'm from there. We both want the same thing, so there is little point dragging it out here." As late as January the 18th, 2006, he searched for Sex Escort Services Westborough and Escort in Worcester, both towns near where he lived, and looked for details about the Blonde Beauties escort service. But Entwistle's internet searches went beyond looking for escorts and other women. In the month before he disappeared, in amongst the internet searches for jobs, cheap flights and get-rich-quick schemes, were search phrases including knife in neck kill and how to kill with a knife. Jesus Christ, how many schoolboy errors can you make? But with Entwistle in the UK, police were making attempts to get Entwistle to return to the US to face the authorities. By tracking Entwistle's movements before he left Massachusetts, it appeared that he visited the Matarazzo home of his mother-in-law and stepfather-in-law in Carver, both before and after the deduced times of death for Rachel and Lillian. This was thought to be to borrow the firearm used to kill his wife and daughter, and this was largely confirmed when DNA evidence showed traces of both Rachel and Neil Entwistle on Joe Matarazzo's gun. On the Thursday, January the 26th, US cops flew into the UK to question him, and the following day he was seen leaving the workshop house of his parents. He went voluntarily to the US Embassy in London with a police escort to speak to the American detectives, but after legal advice did not talk to them and returned to his parents' home. On February the 1st, at St. Peter's Church in Plymouth, Massachusetts, Rachel and Lillian were buried in the same casket. The funeral was attended by 500 mourners, but Entwistle was not one of them. There was no mention of him during the service, and his name did not appear on their graves. However, he sent a single orange rose and a single white lily to the funeral, tied together with ribbon, and with the message, "My orange rose and my lily for always. XOXO. XO." Rachel and Lillian were buried in Evergreen Cemetery in Kingston, Massachusetts, with the surname Souza on their graves. Lillian's birth and death certificates were edited to read "Father Unknown," and who can blame them? On the 8th of February 2006, a week after their funerals, Entwistle was arrested by the Extradition Unit of London's Metropolitan Police Service at Royal Oak Station. He was carrying a blue bag containing a notebook which detailed how he wanted to sell his story to the highest bidder. Classy, Neil. Classy. He eventually waived his right to contest the extradition order and was returned to the US on the 15th of February, where he was arraigned at Framingham District Court and ordered to be held without bail at Middlesex County Jail in Cambridge. On the 28th of March, Entwistle was indicted on 2 counts of murder, the illegal possession of a firearm, and the illegal possession of ammunition. He obviously pleaded not guilty. Middlesex County District Attorney Martha Coakley, and she had successfully prosecuted British au pair Louise Woodward previously in 1997. She told a press conference after Entwistle's arrest. On Thursday night, which would have been the 19th of January 2006, Rachel was alive and had spoken with family members. At some time on Friday morning, Neil Entwistle, with a firearm we believe he had secured at some time before that from father-in-law Joseph Matarazzo, shot Rachel Entwistle in the head and then proceeded to shoot baby Lillian, who was lying on the bed next to her mother. We believe possibly this was intended to be a murder-suicide, but we cannot confirm that. Obviously the murder was effected, but the suicide was not. That's the thing with narcissists, they don't really like to die. What we believe happened next was that Neil Entwistle returned the gun to his father-in-law's home in Carver, then made preparations to leave the country. As we know, he was observed at Logan International Airport. He purchased a one-way ticket on British Airways at approximately 5 a.m. on Saturday morning, the 22nd of January. He was on an 8:15 a.m. flight to the United Kingdom on that day. Based upon forensic information late Tuesday afternoon that linked the .22 handgun owned by Joseph Matarazzo both to Neil Entwistle and to Rachel, we believed we had probable cause to seek an arrest warrant for Neil Entwistle's arrest. In December 2006, nearly a year after the murders, officers at the Middlesex County Jail found letters from Entwistle to his parents and also to his legal team, which indicated he was depressed and might be contemplating suicide. As a result, he was transferred to Bridgewater State Hospital for mental evaluation before being returned to Middlesex County. Forensic psychiatrist Christopher Cordes believed Asperger's syndrome explained Entwistle's behaviour. After numerous delays, juror selection began in June of 2008. There were concerns that, due to the high-profile nature of the case, Entwistle would not receive a fair trial. Some media reported the potential jurors were indicating that they had already formed significant views on his guilt. The trial itself began on June 2nd, 2008. Entwistle himself declined to give evidence, but his lawyers argued that that Rachel had killed Lillian and then shot herself in a fit of depression, and that he had removed the gun and then fled in a bid to protect his wife's honour what a champion. But as each prosecution witness took the stand, a picture of Entwistle as a dreamer and a fantasist who made grandiose claims about his career and financial means began to emerge. One told how Entwistle claimed to have a $100,000 IT contract. He told friends he had purchased a car that was, in fact, only leased, and that he had a mortgage for the house, which was in actuality only rented. Then there was also the forensic evidence. Entwistle's DNA was found on the grip of the .22 Colt revolver used to kill his wife and daughter. An ammunition container and a gun lock, while the DNA of Rachel, who had no interest in guns, her DNA was found both in and on the muzzle. Entwistle broke down in tears as he was shown footage of the house, the crime scene and the bodies. But the most harrowing moment was when Lillian's blood-stained baby clothes were held up high in court for all to see, a bullet hole clearly visible through both the polka dot pajamas and baby grow she was wearing when she was shot in the chest by her own father. On June the 25th, after 13 hours of deliberations, the jury found Entwistle guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder, along with illegally possessing a firearm and ammunition. The following day, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
After being found guilty of murder in the first degree, it is ordered by the court to be sentenced to the Massachusetts Correctional Institution at Cedar Junction for the term of life. On indictment number 2006-387-002, after being found guilty of murder in the first degree, it is ordered by the court to be sentenced to the Massachusetts Correctional Institution at Cedar Junction for the term of life. This sentence to run concurrent with indictment number 2006-387-001. As to indictments 2006-387-003 and 004, possession of a firearm, possession of ammunition, that you be sentenced to probation for a period of 10 years. This is to run concurrent with this sentence imposed in 001, with the following condition: that you will not profit in any way from sale of your story. $90 victim witness fee will be imposed. $65 probation supervision fee will be imposed. 861 days will be noted on the minimus to accompany the said institution. Custody, Mr. Officer, and wait for the minute.
Court will be in recess.
Nice. Court will stand in recess.
So, with that, Neil Entwistle leaves court. Certainly for the last time in this particular hearing, hearing from his lawyers that he will ask for the case to be reconsidered, but at least for now the judge has said that, in fact, there's Mum and Dad just taking a moment to reflect on the news that her son will now spend the rest of his life in jail without any possibility of parole. That's his stepfather and also his brother. His mother insistent outside court yesterday that Rachel Entwistle had killed her own baby and then taken her own life while she was depressed. The jury choosing to believe a different story, that Entwistle had murdered both his wife and baby daughter before fleeing to the United Kingdom. He was later extradited back to the United States.
Entwistle was initially incarcerated at the appropriately named Sousa Baranovsky Correctional Center in Shirley, Massachusetts, but in December 2008 he was transferred to the medium security prison Old Colony Correctional Center, 69 miles away in Bridgewater, Massachusetts, because of threats against his life. The Boston Herald reported how Entwistle shaved his head down to the scalp in an attempt to join a white supremacist group. As you do. Rachel's mother, Priscilla Matarazzo, and her stepfather, Joe Matarazzo, described the killings as an unbearable betrayal after they had welcomed Entwistle into their family as a seemingly loving husband and doting father. Mrs. Matarazzo told the judge, "Our dreams as parents and grandparents..." Oi, 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 oi. Ushk. Echo, stop. Mrs. Matarazzo told the judge, "Our dreams as parents and grandparents have been shattered by the shameful and selfish acts of one person, Neil Entwistle. For him to try to hide behind an accusation of murder-suicide of this beautiful woman and perfect mother is low and despicable. Joe and I, Rachel's family and friends, were sentenced without the luxury of a trial by jury, and now must go on with an eternity of emptiness. Suffering does not begin to describe what we have endured." On the 5th anniversary of the deaths, Matarazzo family friend Joe Flaherty told the Post, "It is something you never get over, and I really don't believe there is closure to anything like this. You may have some peace of mind knowing that the person responsible is behind bars, but that's as far as it goes. He was responsible for wiping out 2 generations. How do you ever get over that? I don't think you ever do. You do the best you can because you have to. So the family has channeled their energy into charities and fundraising. They talk all the time about Rachel and Lillian. They still have photos and memories, and they hold on to those good memories and good times that they shared. They are embracing the time that they did have. I don't think they give Neil any thought at all. I don't think he takes up any space in their lives. They think about Rachel and Lillian, and I'm sure they think what could have been. but they don't think about him or what he's doing. It is a name that is not even mentioned in any of the households. So that was the tragic case of a man who, rather than own his failings, chose to decimate his family for no discernible reason other than pure selfishness. His lack of concern, or indeed any emotion at all, in his talk with the state trooper indicates his lack of feeling. While he may indeed have had Asperger's syndrome, this does not mitigate what he did in any way. The fact that he still claims his innocence is proof of his delusional nature. I truly hope he suffers in prison. The innocent victims here were Rachel and Lillian, who were taken from the world without a choice, because one man believed he had the right to do so. I send heartfelt condolences and good wishes to all who knew them. Thank you for watching another episode of Murder of Crows. I'm Steve. Samson has just been for a little snack and he's now down here somewhere. And we will see you when we see you.
Say that you're ready, but you won't like it. You say that